I am Sanjay Bhardwaj from Department of Computer Science and Applications, DAV College for Girls, Yamunanagar. The topic of discussion of this lecture is static data members and static member functions in C++. Now question is, what basically the data members and member functions are? We understand that class is a user-defined data type. Class is set of data items and the operations to be performed on those data items. The data items are called the data members of the class, and the operations to be performed are given in the form of functions, and they are called the member functions of the class. We understand that the class is defined basically as the word class. Then it is identifier, then braces, private, colon, data members, member functions, public, data members, and member functions. This is the basic structure for defining any particular class. Braces closed and semicolon. This is the structure for defining the class. Identifier. This is a user-defined name which is given to the new data type. Class. This is a reserved word. The words which has a fixed meaning in the language. This word is indicating that this is class definition. Now this is public, private. These members which are defined as private, that means these members can be used within the class or by the members of this class. Data. The data values which are part of this class, those are called data members. And the operations which are performed, that are given in the form of member function. Now private members, those members which can be used within the class or by the members of the class. Public members are those which can be used within the class or even outside the class. In the previous discussion, no doubt, we mentioned these two different type of members, and in that discussions we said generally data members are used as private and member functions are used as public. But this is not a fixed rule. Any of the member can be public or private, but most of the time data members they are declared as private, and member functions they are declared as public. Now data members and member function in combination, when wrapped in the form of a single structure, that is basically known as a class. Now I take one example. This time the example I am taking is, say I want to create a user-defined data type, and that is distance type data. Now in this data I want two parts. One is feet, measurement of distance, that is in the form of feet and inches. There are two different data members. One is feet and other is inch. The operations which I want to indicate on these data items, let it be input of the distance and output or printing the distance. Now according to this structure, if I write this class, let it be, the word is class. Again, this is a reserved word. Now distance, I am using a user defined word for giving the name to this particular data item. Then it is braces. Private, the members which can be accessed within the class or by the members of the class. By default, every member is a private member. That means if I don't write this word private, the data members will be considered as private members. Now the data items, I say int, the distance part feet, then again int, the distance part inch. Now two data members, that is feet and inch. Now public, those members which can be assigned within or the outside the class. I am writing two functions, that is one is the function get distance, that is to input the distance, and the another one is a put distance, that is to display the value of distance. Now I have created a class, I have declared a class with two data members, feet and inch, and two member functions, that is get distance and put distance. Now this is definition of the class. Now no doubt I have to write the code for these two also. One is get distance and the another one is put distance, and that is basically called definition of these functions. I will be discussing this in my example when I write a complete program for that. But my point of concern at this stage is what is static data item and what is static member function. Now if I create object for this, how the objects will be created? It is first the name of the class, that is say distance, and then the name of the objects, say D1 and D2 and D3. Now with this declaration I created three distances, D1, D2 and D3. Now all the three distances will be having this basic structure. How these will be created in memory? Let it be in memory there will be three distances. The one distance, that is D1, this is D1 object, the another one is the object D2, and the third one is object D3. Now these data members, these will be created for individual object. Say this object will be having feet, this object will be having inch, again a feet part and inch part, and no doubt the third distance will be again having a feet part and inch part. Very interesting. The data members are copied for each and every object created for this class. Now these data members are called instance variables. Actually the object is instance of this class, and for every instance these data members are copied, and that is why these are known as instance variables. Now what about these two? These two are created only once, that is get distance, and the another function is put distance. The copies of these functions are not created for every object. Only one copy of these two that will be created. No doubt it can be used by D1, it can be used by D2, as well as it can be used by D3. Now with this I explained the concept of instance variable. Now the actual topic, that is static data member. Now static data members are the special data member. It's very important to understand static data members are the special data members. Now what basically is special in that? The special is the data item will be created only once and it will be used by the complete class. See the difference. The instance variables are created for every object, but the static data item, I will be calling it class variable. It will be used single copy for the complete class or single copy for every particular object of this class. Now how this is declared? It will be declared by writing the word static with the declaration. This is static. I will use the word static. Now this indicates this is a static data member, and say it is a type integer, and say the name of the variable is count. Now the question is where this variable will be created. This variable will be created as a common variable for all the objects, that is D1, D2 and D3. Now this is known as a class variable because it is related to the class rather than different objects. The data items which are related to the object, they are known as the instance variables, and which is related to the class, that is known as a class variable. Now how this happened? This happened because of this special word, and the word is static. Another special about this is that it will be automatically initialized to 0. Now, I said two special properties. One, the data item which is declared as static, that will be created as a class variable. And the second thing is, the data item which is declared static will be automatically initialized to 0 when the object will be created. And the third is, first I will be writing it here. Here I will be indicated as static. Another one, I will be associating this variable to the class by writing a statement after this, and that statement will be the type, that is int, the word then class name, that is a distance, scope resolution operator, and then the variable name, and that name is count. Now this declaration associated this variable with the class, that class is distance. This is how static data members are declared, that is with this statement. This statement is the declaration of the static data member. And in memory, it is created something like this, that it is associated with complete class rather than with individual variable. Again I say, these are the instance variable, and this variable is a class variable. Now basically, the question is, why we need this? Why we need this static data item? Sometimes we need a variable which is to be used with all the objects, which is used common to all the objects, rather than with the individual object. This is the need of this this particular static type variable. Say an example. I prepare a class, and class for distance type data. I want to find out how many objects are input in this program. That means, with how many objects I used the get distance function. Now, if I want to find out the number of times the get distance function is executed, I need a variable which is to be used with all the objects of the class, and that is basically the need of a static data item. Now say I complete this program, this one. If I complete this program, and the purpose is I want to find out how many number of times the get distance function is executed, despite of the fact which particular object is using. I'm not bothered about that. I just want to find out how many times this is used, say by different objects. That means I need a static data item. Say hash include, it is iostream.h. I hope we understand that this is a header file which is used for input-output operations. Say the name is class, and class name as I used is distance. It is private members of the class, private. I use integer feet, integer inch, the two instance variables, and another one is static, and that is integer count. Now one copy of this will be created for every object, and then the another one will be, it will be automatically initialized to 0. Public, I say two member functions, void, it is get distance, void, it is put distance. Now these two are the functions for input and output of distance. This is basically the static data member declaration. Now the another, I said it is to be associated with the class. It is int, distance, scope resolution, count. One very important thing, no doubt this is automatically initialized to 0 at this stage, However, if we want to initialize it to some other value, we can write that value here. If I say I want to initialize count to 2, I can write count is equal to 2. This variable can be initialized at this stage. So this is semicolon. Now the definition of these two, it is void. Next one is distance, scope resolution. The another is name of the function, get distance. This is C in, the value of fit, the value of inch. And the very important is, I will increment the value of count by 1. Now what this statement will be doing? Every time the get distance will be executed, every time the input process of the distance will be performed, this variable will be incremented by 1. That means it will be counting how many number of times this get distance function is working. Say void, it is distance, scope resolution, it is put distance. I will display the value of count with this function. Say C out, it is fit and it is inch. It is fit and inch. And say I write here C out, that is value of count. C out the value of count. Now in the input function I incremented the value by 1. In the output function I displayed the distance, no doubt I displayed the distance, along with I displayed the value, that is the value of the variable. Now the main program. In main program I write, say void main, I create 3 objects, that is distance, d1, d2 and d3. Now what will be the process? The process, there will be three different objects, and 3 different objects, those will be having instance variable, a separate copy of instance variable for each object, d1, d2 and d3. No doubt fit and inch, fit and inch and fit and inch. Again instance variables. The next one is count, that is equal to 0. Class variable related to the complete class, and then it is get distance, and the another one is put distance. Count automatically initialized to 0. This is important. Now we understand that any of these member function can be used with the help of class name, of object name. I say d1 dot get distance. Now d1 dot get distance, it will execute this function get distance with which object? The object is d1. If I give distance 5 feet and 6 inch, what will happen? This value will be 5 and this value will be 6. 5 feet and 6 inch. At the same time, this count will be incremented to 1. This is how it will be incremented. The next step, if I say d2 dot get distance, and the process is another input, say this time the input is 7 and 8. This 7, it will be stored in this one. Why it is stored with d2? Because the calling object here is d2. And 8, this 8 will be stored here. But as this count will be incremented, it will be giving value now incremented to 2. This is very interesting. The process is simple. This variable is common to all the objects. Despite of the fact this is called by d1, this is called by d2, count will be incremented by 1 because it is a class variable. Now if I say I use d1 dot put distance, now what will be output? d1 dot put distance. This function will be executed. Feet and inch. That means 5 and 6. The output will be 5 feet, 6 inch, and the another output will be 2. Why 2? Why this value will be 2? Because At present, the value of count is 2. It is not related to D1. It is related to the class. And now I say D2 dot put distance. If I say D2 dot put distance, the values printed will be 7 and 8. And the value will be, the another value will be, and that value will be 2. 2 is the value of the count. Now, this is how the static data members are. This is declared here. The second one, it is no doubt, I used it as a quote, and this is how it is the printed here. Now, one problem in this particular example I found is that count is not related to any of the object. Still, I used it into this this function put distance. Now, to print the value of count, I am using D1 dot put distance. No doubt, count has nothing to do with D1. Count has to be used with the class. It is not related to the object. But still, because I cannot use any function without the name of this object, that is why I am using this, that is the D1 dot put distance. Now, this is what the static data member is. The static data member is how it declared. And what is the basic meaning of this static data item? Now, another one is static member function. Static member function. This is the second part of the topic, static member function. Now, no doubt, this is a special function. The word static is used. This is a special function which is used with static data member. This is important. Static member function is a special function which is used with static data member. This example is indicating me the need of a static member function, where I want to print the value of count. I want to print value of only count. I cannot do in this example because count is used with put distance, and this is to be used with the object. I don't want to use this with the object because this is related to the class. This is not related to the object. If it is not related to the object, if it is related to the class, I should have some method by which this data item can be used without the object. And this is static member function. Now, in this example, I add one more function, and that function is, say, static void, and it is put count. Yes, I am using to print the value of count. I am using a special function which will be for printing the value of the static data member. I declared it as static member function. Now, this is how the static member function is declared. Now, what will be changed there? No doubt, this function will remain same because it is to input the value as well as to increment the value of count. Now, this function put distance, I will remove this statement from this statement. Now, this is only to print the value of a value of the count. Now, another function which I am adding is, and that function is put count. Say void, say it is distance, the scope resolution operator, and put count. And the very important is it is using the static member function count, and this one is a static member function. Static member function, no doubt, it is declared with the word static. And the second thing is, its definition is a normal definition which we use for the member function. But the very important is, it can use only static data item. Now, say three objects. This scene will remain same. The next one is get distance D1. It is used with D1. It is used with D1. So the input value will be stored here and count will be incremented by 1. Now, I want to print the value of count. Yes, I will be using this one. And this is not to be used with any object because this is for the class variable. I write distance, this is class name, scope resolution operator, and then the function put count. This function will be printing static. This is static one. This will be printing the static data item. Say if it is d1 dot get distance, and now d2 dot get distance, and now I say distance put count, the value printed will be put count. The value printed will be 2. The value printed will be 2. Now I hope the topic is very clear. What is a static data member? A static data member is a special member whose only one copy is created for the complete class rather than for individual object. It is declared with the word static, and it can be used as a normal variable. Now to print it, you have to use this value. Static member functions are used, and static member functions are with the word static, and it can use only the static data members. Now here I used a normal function, that is get distance, no doubt with the object name d1. The next one I use this static function, but static function is not related to the objects. That is why I used it with the class name. This statement is very important. I am using it with the class name rather than with the object name. No doubt get distance. But if I write d2 dot put distance, because this is a normal function, that is why I need the class object name, right? So static functions, they are used with the help of class name rather than with the help of object name. I hope the topic, that is the static data members and the static member functions, it is clear with the help of this particular example. Thank you very much.